Whether you're an Old West history buff or you just love watching the movie Tombstone, you're probably aware that Glenwood Springs is where Doc Holliday spent his final days. And he may or may not still be here somewhere. Stay tuned. You're a daisy if you do. Howdy, I'm Dr. J, and this is my little sidekick Boots, and she's raring to go. As always, our mission is to rescue history before it's all gone for good. So what do you say, Boots? You ready to rescue some more history? Come on, let's go.
Welcome to Walking the American West with Dr. J, preserving the history of the Western frontier and sharing the memories and events that shaped America. Thanks for coming with us. If you enjoy the walk, hit the thumbs up button to let us know, and feel free to smash that subscribe button so you never get left behind.
I'm on the corner of 8th and Grand, and unlike the movie Tombstone, Doc Holliday did not die in a sanitarium. Rather, he died in a hotel. And just what hotel would that be, Dr. J? And where is it today? Behind me, on that corner, is where the Hotel Glenwood once stood. And it was in that hotel on November 8th, 1887, that Doc Holliday took his last labored breath. A massive fire consumed that hotel in 1945. Today, Bullocks Western Store sits on the site where the hotel once stood. We're in Bullocks Western Store, and as beautiful as this is, it's what's downstairs that brings us here today. Come on. I'm here in the Doc Holliday Museum with the executive director of the Glenwood Springs Historical Society and the curator of this museum, Bill Kite.
It's really good for you to be with us today. It's a pleasure to meet you and to talk with you and to have you make history come alive. And so thank you for that. And I'm really glad that it's happening.
We're glad to be here. Tell me, Bill, how did the Doc Holliday Museum come to be? And considering that it could have been anywhere in this town, why is it so important that it's located right here?
The Historical Society had the opportunity to buy a Derringer that was claimed to be owned by Doc Holliday, given to him by Big Nosed Kate, his paramour. So we acquired that gun in 2017, and about the same time, the Bullocks made this basement the very place where Doc died on the 3rd floor of then the Hotel Glenwood. Then we couldn't say no. And Lisa Langer of the Chamber also was involved in that, brought us in here, showed us an empty room, and we got the vision that you see today in what's here.
The Hotel Glenwood burned down in 1945. Are there any original remnants of that hotel here in the museum?
Actually, we're fortunate to have the location of Doc's collection in the basement of the Hotel Glenwood, and that presents a certain picture of what it was like when you walk in here. You see the stone walls, and if you look over to the left, you see a picture of what the hotel was like, and then you see an actual piece of wood that's charred that's left in place. So that gives you the feeling of, yeah, I'm in the right place.
Doc Holliday spent the last days of his life right here in the Hotel Glenwood. Do we have any idea what floor he was on or what room he might have been in?
We know that he passed away on the third floor of the Hotel Glenwood that was located in the very location that we're talking. And so we know from that fact that I wish we knew the room, but we have some conjecture about what was said when he died, the conjecture about what he had in his possession. Did he have the Derringer in his possession? And then a lot of other things that are what I call the mysteries of history. And those mysteries are really what I think draw people in. Can we solve this mystery of history? And that makes it exciting and fun as well.
Of all the interesting artifacts in this museum, there are two that really stand out to me. They're in fact my favorites. And of course I'm speaking about the Derringer and the pocket watch. Why don't you tell me more about the Derringer?
I'm glad you asked that question about the Derringer because we had an opportunity to purchase it back in 2017 from Jason Burley from Canada. And we talked to the board of directors about it. We went to the public and we showed in articles in the paper what opportunity we had. And so we took advantage of that opportunity, and that's on display. It was given to him supposedly by his paramour, Big Nose Kate, and there's a little bit about her in this display as well. And so that in itself gives you a connection, if it truly is, which is still a question, another mystery of history. Is it truly the Derringer that Doc had in his possession when he passed away?
And now, why don't you tell us a little more about the watch?
I'm glad you asked the question about the watch. Well, the pocket watch that's engraved to Doc Holliday from Wyatt Earp almost didn't make it. It almost got thrown in the trash, and I think those accidents of history just make your teeth curl because you think about it, it could have been so easily lost. And as a fact that the gentleman who found it, through circumstances that are really legend by now, was a policeman at the time, Michael Chandler, and he has loaned us a lot of the exhibits you see here, and including the pocket watch. And it was found when the courthouse was being renovated. The courthouse, it's a famous courthouse. It's also where Mr. Bundy, Ted Bundy, escaped. And so at this time, back then, they were renovating, and it got stuck in the trash some way, got thrown in the trash, was found, and was given to the policeman, Michael, at that time, he was a policeman, Michael Chandler. So that's what I know about the story.
Other than the Derringer and the watch, is there anything else in here that you consider to be your personal favorite?
There's one thing that stands out in my opinion because it's the bullet puller that pulled the bullets out of the characters that were involved in the OK Corral. If you can imagine when the gentlemen that were shot at the OK Corral were really taking their dying breaths, the doctor was over them trying to pull the bullets out with a bullet puller. We have that bullet puller right here in this collection. That gives you a direct touch to what happened there at what's called the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Thank you, Bill, for all your personal insights into this little Doc Holliday time capsule.
Thank you,
Put it
Dr.
there.
J. Appreciate it.
We love doing it.
Thank you.
We've left the museum, and we're back in the store. And look who's over there. Let's see if he has a minute to talk. Today I'm sitting here with Bill Bullock, who along with his family represents the third generation of Bullocks to own and operate Bullock's Western Wear store. This Western store sits on the original location of the Hotel Glenwood. Tell me, Bill, how did that come to be?
Dr. J, that's an interesting story. After the Hotel Glenwood did burn down, it was basically a vacant lot after they tore the building down, and my grandfather saw it as an opportunity to build a bigger store that he always wanted, and he ended up purchasing the land and then eventually building the building.
Did your grandfather realize the historical significance of this site, or was more just a good business decision?
I believe it was just a sound business decision. At that time in the 40s, Doc Holliday really wasn't famous. And the corner was the best corner in town, and he could see that. He was such a good businessman.
When and who realized the historical significance of this location?
Dr. J, I think it really wasn't until the movie Tombstone kind of made everything famous about Doc Holliday. That was such a fantastic movie. The Historical Society always did a great job promoting Doc Holliday and the cemetery and the ghost walks. But after the movie and after we were able to put the Doc Holliday Museum within the store, it really kicked off.
Bill, on behalf of our viewers, Linda and I would like to thank you so much for your time and especially for sharing your family's amazing connection to this most historical site. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
You're most welcome. Thank you. That's a good one.
That's a good one. In addition to its hot springs, Glenwood Springs once was also known for its so-called vapor caves. It was long thought that breathing in them vapors would be beneficial to one's health. Ironically, however, and I must say most unfortunately for Doc, the concentrated sulfur fumes contained in those vapors may have seriously increased the inflammation in his already damaged lungs, and in fact, hasten his demise.
Doc? Doc!
Doc's last days were spent bedridden in his room at the Hotel Glenwood. And although the movie Tombstone would have us all believe that Wyatt Earp was by his side when he died, the fact is, he wasn't. Now, that's not to say that Doc died alone, however. There's ample evidence to show that Big Nose Kate was not only in Glenwood Springs at the time, she very likely was at his side. And there may have been others. Hair-Lip Charlie Smith, Sarah Field Cooper, and Walter Devereaux, to name just a few. Having been either unconscious or delirious for the last 14 days of his life, on the morning of November 8th, 1887, Doc suddenly awoke, bright-eyed, and requested, of all things, a shot of whiskey. Upon consuming it, it's said that he glanced down at his bare feet and remarked, "That's funny." And with that, he was gone. Big Nose Kate said, "The end of Holliday." John Henry Holliday was just 36 years old. Now, there's much conjecture as to exactly what Doc meant when he said, "That's funny," and it likely relates to his penchant for reckless interactions with some very dangerous men. I think he was probably just astonished to find himself dying peacefully in bed with his boots off, as opposed to on some dusty western street or in the back of some dark alley with his boots still on. Like so many other famous and infamous people from the same era, there's still a lot of mystery and even more disagreement about just who's buried where. I call your attention to the continuing conversation about Wild Bill Hickok, Buffalo Bill, Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. And now, Doc Holliday. Doc died essentially a pauper, and he wasn't even famous yet, so there wasn't any money for a funeral or a burial. The fact of the matter is, based on newspaper accounts and interviews with direct descendants of people that were actually at Doc's burial, it turns out that Doc actually is buried somewhere right here in Linwood Cemetery, and probably a stone's throw from where his marker sits today. And speaking of markers, here's a fun fact. There's been 3 of them. Why? Well, the first one was vandalized. The second one, believe it or not, had the wrong date of his birth. And by the way, you can go see that one just inside the front door of Bullocks Western store downtown, making this one number 3. There can be no mistaking that Doc Holliday was a big personality and an even bigger chapter of our Old West history. And no matter what you believe about the man, I choose to remember him as a unique blend of fearlessness and loyalty and courage in the face of adversity. We're not just here to rescue history. Little Boots here wanted to make sure and remind you that when you're ready, why not stop by your local animal shelter and rescue a new little buddy of your own? What do you say, Boots? You ready to go? Let's keep walking. Come on, Boots.
You've been walking the American West with Dr. J. Please remember to like and subscribe. And thanks for walking with us.